Hello and welcome back. I am with Sara Ruch, and we are going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about leadership and its application to the emergency management profession and the professional, and how we can continue to drive and push the profession to get better, as well as the professional that sits in the profession and does the job, whether that be practitioner or educator. Sara herself as led in many areas, whether she wants to take credit for it or not. Those one of those things that leaders, some of them don't like to be in the public eye. Some of them are introverts who step into extrovert behavior, but ultimately leadership that's taken effect in the way she's done things throughout her career and her continued evolution in emergency management, and to mentor others and to help drive the profession forward and to encourage others to enter the profession is one of those that I want to explore. But more than that, explore the road on how we can continue to promote additional to add to women in emergency management and people of color in emergency management, bringing emergency management to be more diverse profession. So Sara, thank you for agreeing to continue this conversation with me on leadership and share your thoughts and your insight to the audience.
Super thrilled to be back again.
So, ultimately, one of the real reasons I reached out to you was because you see that you have stepped into leadership roles, and you, when it comes to emergency management, IAEM, for instance, becoming a CEM, being a mentor of those who want to get their CEM, but also your promotion of emergency management and your desire to be an emergency manager at a very young age. And it's evident that in your career you've had to ultimately employ leadership skills in what you do, especially communication. Leadership in general is influence, and being able to influence others to do what is needed to promote not only the job in which you sit, but the profession and you as a professional. So what kind of advice or ultimate suggestions do you have in those who are looking to go the same route, or maybe struggling in that area, that you could give them to help them better their leadership skills?
Okay. So I guess I just want to give a little bit of background into what I believe my leadership style is I'm more of a servant leader. I prefer to get everybody's input and then help make them shine, so that we can accomplish whatever our goal happens to be at the time. I have been really blessed in having a lot of good mentors in my life, and getting those opportunities when I was younger. No one that was really close to me ever told me, no, you can't do that. And in our previous segment, we discussed how I ended up in Virginia, and it was one of the leaders that I look to on how I lead and how I mentor, is she's retired chief now, but Chief Tracy Hanger from Hampton. She was one of my first bosses, and she was also one of the first female firefighters in the city of Hampton. So when you talk about overcoming or trying to fit in or trying to find your niche, she had a lot of very helpful insights, and it just gave me permission to go with things. So I was able to help start our urban area security initiative for Hampton Roads. She told me to go work on our RCPT stuff. So I did that. And within the region as a whole, I was always given opportunities to be a leader, because our region is rather small. I mean, we have a large population with Norfolk and Virginia Beach and Hampton and Newport News and Portsmouth and Chesapeake. I could name off a half a dozen others, but we have, but it's small emergency management wise. It wasn't until like the last 5 years that we have had departments, or we now have departments with like over 3 people in them, which for us is huge. Virginia Beach is now one of the larger ones, and I think they're up to 7 or 8. But when I first started, it was a very small community, and they only had 2 people. So the leadership opportunities were there, and I would just always, whether I knew a whole lot or not about whatever the subject was, I would just volunteer to either take notes, to be the speaker for the group. I found that was huge. A lot of people don't like public speaking or being the one that takes the notes if you're, in like small little work groups or you're working at a class. So I started out with some stuff like that, which was just volunteering for whatever. And once you volunteer and show that you're capable of doing these things, like you have the good speaking skills and the writing skills or whatever, people will go, oh yeah, wait a minute, hold on. I was in a class with her a while ago, and I think that she would do really good at blank, or I will call her to see if she can help with this project. So, when you ask how do you get in, or what sort of leadership, where would I tell them to start with leadership? I would say start with whatever opportunity comes your way. So, I mean, to me, there's no leadership position too big or too small. I still volunteer quite frequently to be the speaker in the group or to be the person that takes the notes when we do breakout groups. But that eventually led to, okay, well, I'll be the chair or the co-chair of a subcommittee within the region. And then I'll be the chair within the region of our regional emergency management committee, or one of them. And then it just literally grew from there. And like I said, I got opportunities to work on UASI and RCPT stuff. So I was able to work with developing PPD 8 for the federal government with FEMA on some FEMA teams. And then that eventually, also around that time, I started doing stuff with the Virginia Emergency Management Association. And I was able to move up within there and eventually become president. And now I'm past president of that association. But it's really just getting involved. Find something that you're passionate about. Find a particular area of emergency management that maybe you have a different take on or some personal experience with, so you feel a connection to. Because to me, while you can volunteer for anything, and that's a good way of starting as well, I think in order to maintain that, you have to have a level of interest there to make sure that you're continually learning as well. In my opinion, you can't stay stagnant as a leader, and especially in emergency management, stuff is constantly changing, and you need to be on top of whatever the new changes are so that you can continue to lead others or make good suggestions as into where the group would go.
That's a good point. And, what I'm finding as a common theme is that the servant leadership aspect of the way we do things, especially as emergency managers, let's talk about the ways in which we really do that. Because, ultimately leadership is building others up. And so what little suggestions or what practices do you currently put into action when it comes to building others up and giving them the ability to shine as a leader?
So I mentioned, so anyway, we have a new planner in our office here. And when my boss and I sat down to look at the job description and what we were going to do, we both felt, and I pushed, that I was in a certain area of my career where I wanted to give back, because I had been so lucky and so fortunate to have so many really great leaders and people that supported me when I was doing emergency management. And when I started in emergency management, and I was looking around at all the different programs, like entry-level planner, and I was seeing like 2 to 3 years of experience. And I remember when I was trying to get my first job, I mean, there was no way I was getting 2 to 3 years of experience, beforehand. What was I supposed to do? I mean, now they at least have FEMA Corps, so that's an option, to come in. But we wanted to create something where someone could come in at the very, very bottom, straight out of college. So that was a requirement, was to have a college degree in emergency management and or related field. And then we built in, different steps and things that they should be able to do. So fast forward, and maybe a little bit more to your question, Michael gets volunteered for quite a bit. So we're in, my jurisdiction is within the 10-mile EPZ of the Surrey nuclear power plant. And we needed to update, well, the whole region needed to update our radiological plan to Rev 2. It's a new version. So anyway, we had to update that. And everybody's like, well, we all have to basically update the plan, all of our plans anyway, and they're almost the same. And we wanted them all the same. That was the goal, was to have everybody have basically the same layout of a plan. So it wasn't so difficult for FEMA to come in and go, well, Newport News does this and James City County does that when we're getting graded. So the state just didn't have the capacity at the time to help us with that, like they thought they would. So I think Michael might have been here 3 weeks. And I said, here you go. And I feel bad because the look on his face was like almost sheer terror. Like, what did you just sign me up for? But that, to me, I knew he was capable because he had a very good emergency management background. He got hired as a planner. He could definitely write. And it was a great way on a smaller project, because there's only 7 of us that are in the 10-mile EPZ that was updating the plan. There's only 7 of us, to be a leader, to organize the meetings, to figure out what the agenda is going to be, to do some of the research to see, okay, how are we going to do pet decon? Is there a better way of doing this or that? Or we have these 2 options of how to write something, which option you guys want to go with? So to me, when I see, if I think someone new to emergency management, has an interest or seems super willing, or maybe, kind of a little shy to like step up and go, hey, ooh, I can do that, but you could tell, because I don't like volunteering people just to volunteer people and them not, wanting to do it, because that doesn't work out either. But always suggesting to them, hey, why don't you try, or, oh, I think you should, and then kind of quasi volunteer them for something and see if they go along with it. The other thing that I found myself doing a lot recently with some of the newer emergency managers in the region is I give them a call. So let them get settled into their position for, a couple weeks, maybe a month, figure out what they're doing. And then I just reach out and say, hey, I'm a smaller jurisdiction. I have some time on my hands occasionally here and there. If you have a question, and I mean anything, if you want to know the history of how that program got started, or, you're working on your CEM, or you're debating what leadership class to take. About a month or 2 ago, I had one of the emergency managers who had been here for 5 to 7 years. She's at a place in her career where now she's looking to take some of these higher level leadership courses through FEMA, or through over in Monterey, or maybe up at Harvard or something. And so she's like, which ones did you take? Which ones did you like? So sometimes being a leader and promoting others isn't necessarily doing something that everybody else can see, but it's just being there, or even being a sounding board for them, going, I'm so frustrated because of you name it, and going, well, here's some suggestions on things that might solve it or might not, or maybe you can try wording something different, or working around the problem this way, and letting them grow and see what works best for them. So for me, quite honestly, right now, I'm super enjoying this part of my career because I get to help. That's always what I wanted to do. I just always wanted to help. And so being able to reach out to the newer emergency managers, or help, some others that are in the area, develop their leadership skills and see where they go with their careers and what they want to do, and help them get there. That's super exciting for me, to finally be able to have that information to help people. So.
Well, that's great. And, a lot of that, resides in a consistent level of effort to invest in others. And yeah, that is actually absolutely an attribute for leadership. But I want to touch on one thing before we wrap up this section, because I think it's important, is the mentors that you had in your life. I mean, you've credited Dr. Carol Seawack for a strong mentor, also someone that was one of the first women in the fire department. What are some attributes that you've taken from them in your application of being a strong mentor?
It was actually some of the things that I just discussed, which is they let me try something. They gave me the leeway to say, okay, go be the chair or the co-chair of this group. And they were always there to support me with helping me with the minutes or some of the like behind the scenes political stuff that you don't realize is it's like the meeting before the meeting, kind of like the meeting after the meeting, which I learned about. And just, always there to listen and give suggestions of what they think, so where I want to go with my career and where they think what would be good steps to take or committees to be on or programs to attend or something like that to help me get to where I wanted to go. So I think it's also helpful for women to have well, if I can say for guys too, I don't know, to have a safe space. So that if there's something else that happens that's odd or just not quite comfortable, that you have someone you can go to and talk to openly about whatever happened, and then hopefully find some solutions. Or sometimes there just quite honestly isn't a solution and it's unfortunate, and you just have to move on and you have to deal with the problem, and you'll probably encounter the problem 15 to 20 more times. You never know. And you just have to be okay with letting with some of those obstacles that everybody has to overcome, and then finding good tools to overcome or go around the obstacles. So I also want to say, we always talk about positive leadership and positive mentors. I guess because a mentor kind of means at least in my thought, something a little bit more positive. I have learned a lot from leaders or bosses that I have worked with that I did not have positive interactions with. And that was very difficult at the time to go, I don't understand why they're doing it this way. I would not do it this way. I don't get why they're making me jump through 50 hoops when 5 would be fine. I think we could accomplish this in 5, not 50. And I probably learned just as much from them as I did from the positive interactions that I had. And those interactions probably stuck with me more and longer, because now I find myself actively going, okay, I remember when I was in a similar situation to blank, and my boss at the time said no because of whatever, or wouldn't let me go through with something. And now I'm going, okay, I can see it from both perspectives, and I'm like, well, we're not going to be that person. We're going to at least, you can still say no, but like explain why you're saying no or not now or wait. And so I find myself going, am I being the leader that I think I could be, or that I want to be, or just being the person that I want to be on a daily basis? Because I like to think I'm happy and positive, so I try to have happy, positive interactions with people. And it's hard to do that when you sometimes have to say no, or disappoint someone because they can't do the project that they want to do, or go against an initiative in the region because it's not good for your jurisdiction, but you understand why it'd be good for the other jurisdictions. So I just want to say that for people that are like, oh, I don't have a good mentor, or I don't have any positive interaction or whatever, you can twist that. That's it's a perspective sort of issue. It's okay, well, the situation you're in right now, and the people you're around might not be super supportive of you, and that's okay. It's not great, but it's okay, and you'll get through it. And you'll also learn a lot. You'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about other people, and you might not have learned those lessons, or received that sort of interaction, had you not had someone who you disagreed with, or disagreed with their leadership style. So I just want to put that out there too, because it's easy to have a lot of positive, cheery, happy thoughts about leadership and mentorship. But if you're not in one of those good spots, and you can always reach out to me if you want some positive interaction, but if you're not in one of those good spots, you can learn just as much. And I find some of those lessons have stuck with me more, or at least make me think, okay, am I being the type of leader that I want to be? Am I really helping this person? Or what is my thought process behind doing this?
And that is a very important point, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because we can ultimately the perspective in which we view a negative interaction can either influence our behavior to go negative or to go positive. We can say, "Oh, that I don't like that," and that interaction, or the way that was talked to, or the way that was approached, or whatever. And I can say, "I'm not going to do that when I do X, Y, Z." But then you can also, if you're the reason why a negative experience happened, which it happens.
Yep.
Is you can reflect back on that and say, I didn't handle that well, and I need to really correct that, and so that my next interaction is better. When it comes to this line of work, especially, it's very people oriented, very communication, and when it comes to leadership, and ultimately for me anyway, I am an introverted person, so I don't really go out of my way a lot of the times. But with emergency management, you have to step into an extroverted role. But what I do find is that I have a case of RBF, and I call it resting business face.
Yeah.
But for those of you out there who really know what that stands for, so I come across sometimes as very standoffish, or I may look intimidating, and it's not my my demeanor, but it is my appearance, and sometimes. So I have to be very conscious about that and how I interact with people. And sometimes what is not meant to be negative can be construed as negative. And it has to be one of those things that you look at and you reflect on yourself and say, how do I do better next time? And that's just active leadership, but it's also active personal growth. And I appreciate you sharing that point. Very important. Is there anything you'd like to leave those who are watching and listening with for a final thought?
I can't think of anything other than we did talk about a little bit about diversity previously, and I didn't touch too much on that, but I want to go back to it for a second here, just to say, you need, in my opinion, I try to get into schools, and it's hard now with COVID, even though it's kind of waning out or whatever it's doing, and be there for the it's not the bring your kid to work day, but it's the professional day that they do in school. Because when I go, people have, of course, the kids have no clue who they are. They think I'm a meteorologist. They think I'm a firefighter. They sometimes think I'm a police officer, and they have absolutely no clue. And it's because because emergency management is so new. If I say FEMA, people kind of have an idea of what I do, but not really. I still get oh, you're in charge of an ER. No, I'm not in charge of an emergency operations room. I definitely wouldn't want to do that. So I try to get into the schools as much as possible to help spread what emergency management is, and just make it a realistic and something that's attainable for kids. Like, it's a different profession compared to, fire or police. I definitely would not be the person that you would want running into a burning building. And I am so jumpy. You definitely do not want me handling a firearm. I can tell you that one right now. So, but there are other ways you can serve, through emergency management, or 911 is another good example. But kids just don't hear about that very often. And the same thing with going into different communities within your locality. The one bright spot that came out of COVID for me is I have a better understanding of those communities. I also have some really great connections with them. And now for me, the hard part over the next, 5 to 10, 15 years, whatever it is going to be maintaining those connections and making sure that I'm out and that people see me, or see someone from my office, to know that we're here and that we're, just don't think about us when a bad storm hits or comes through. I was very lucky. I've said this a couple times, but I really do feel I was very lucky in multiple different aspects of my career. But I was able to see a lady in our Hampton Roads region become IEM president. During my early career, I was able to see her also become the president of the Virginia Emergency Managers Association. So I never thought, something wasn't attainable because I didn't see someone that was like me in those positions. But I can understand where, not everybody in all the states have that, um, there are a lot more women in emergency management now than when I started, and I love to see that. I would like us to become a little bit more, well, not a little bit, but a lot more diverse in the different communities we pull from, because I think that only helps us reach and connect with those communities that we're trying to help, that might be underserved. And you don't, if someone doesn't know something exists because they've never seen it before, they don't think of that as an option when they go to college. If you've seen a doctor, I mean, if you think about all the things that a kid wants to be when they grow up, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be an astronaut. And just making emergency management more prevalent within the general community, so that not only the kids see you, but their parents see you, and maybe they have an interest in meteorology and writing and planning. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. I heard a while ago the county has something that sounds similar. Let me Google and see, and see what the title of that is to, help guide their kids into emergency management. Because I don't think if you don't see it, or you don't hear about it, you would never think of it, that there would be such a person with such a job. And I just quite honestly really enjoy emergency management, and I hope more people are able to get the opportunity to be an emergency manager and really live out their dreams the same way that I have. So.
Great point. And ultimately that comes back to one of the things that I'm really heavily trying to push, which is marketing. We need to be marketers. We need to know how to market it to everyone, and to make people understand what it is, why it's important, what it is, and give them an understanding of that they want to do it. I mean, you'd be surprised even in first response when it comes to law enforcement, fire, EMS, well, that don't have an understanding of what emergency management is, but then they get a little taste of it, and they're like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so and not only that, it's usually where they see their second career coming. Or they transition in the mid-career because they love it so much. So we need to really do our part in marketing this wonderful profession and everything that it does. I mean, we have such a large scope of work, but it really does impact people's lives. And to do that in a positive manner on a consistent basis, we need to take more pride in what we do. And a lot of that's going to come from marketing what it is that we do more
Mhm.
regular. So Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and share your opinions, your insight in this. I will be sure that I make your contact information available that you've shared in your speaker profile, so people can reach out to you for more information or just to connect, potentially share and collaborate on projects. Your insight into the profession, your desire to be an emergency manager at a young age definitely brings new light and insight into what it is that we're trying to do with the profession and advancing the profession, but also those who take it upon themselves to become the professional. And
Mhm.
just wanted to thank you for your time. Your time is the most valuable thing you can give anybody, and I appreciate you giving me some today. So thank you so much for coming in and viewing, letting our viewers see what you have to bring to the table.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being here.
For all those who are watching, listening, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and listen to this segment. If you want any information or additional information on the things we talked about, please reach out to me or Sarah.
Mhm.
Direct message us or on LinkedIn. But ultimately, if you found value here, please like, comment, share, and give us feedback on the content and what you would potentially like to see in the future. My name is Dan Scott. Let's get better and let's do it together.